Hey, what's going on, everybody? Boilon here, back for another video on Marvel Strike Force, and it's appropriate that we've happened to get Black Cat as the featured character in the background because that's kind of what we're talking about here today. The event is winding down, so as of me recording it, I'm actually recording this on Monday afternoon, so I don't know exactly when the video is going to go out, but the event ends on Tuesday afternoon, and we'll be done with Black Cat for the first go. And I want to talk about how I did. I don't know why I paused there for a second, but you know, a lot of people know that I did not build Knowhere. With the exception of Nova, I didn't build the wider Knowhere team to get to where I was for this event. I want to talk about how I've performed and how I actually have zero regrets. I have zero regrets on not building the rest of the team. That being said, and there's a bit of a caveat here, that my position and where I was with my other characters was a little bit different than what other people might be out there. And nowhere, not at any time ever, have I suggested that you do not need to build the team, because if you don't have any of the other characters that you could have used like I did, then you would have probably had to build them a little bit. But I think that some people may have gone a little bit overboard. I think some people may have built it way too high than they really needed to, and a lot of this is honestly in the context of that we have just so many characters being thrown at us every single week that we just don't have the resources to build everything. We're going to get into a little bit more of this, but we're going to be talking mostly about the Black Cat event in this. So if you're ready to go, let's boil this down. So let's talk about my main score, my high score. What did I do? Some of you might know, some of you might not. Maybe you're not paying attention. Anyways, I completed a full D7 run. I actually went back and did it again. So some of you might have seen my videos from last week. I did end up doing... I added in the 5 points for the 20% HP Scourge. And I added that on, and that put me to 1.1 million. I was at like I was like 1,000 short of 1.1 or something. I had to get this milestone 39, was it? For the 20 Black Cat shards. So this is where I've ended up. 55 out of 80. So it's not quite a 4-star, but it's pretty close, right? Like I was just away that last 1.35. So I wasn't able to get there. And why could I not do that? I couldn't do D8. The characters that I had, obviously, I have Nova, but the other characters plus Nova was not enough to be able to clear the damage that went up with D8 versus D7. And I'm perfectly okay with that. Because realistically, where am I on the leaderboard now? Again, this is like one day before the end of the event, so this might change. This is probably going to change a little bit, but I'm currently at 16,445. I might even get pushed back all the way to like 18,000, 20,000. We'll talk about what that means for the ranking. But I'm actually pretty okay with this because, by and large, I did no investment for this event. I just used the characters that I already had within my control. There was actually a little... You know what? Even before this event, I had upgraded Swarm. Everyone knows that I upgraded Swarm. And I want to talk about this really quick. The characters that I used. Now, I can't remember. So my Swarm was already at gear tier 15, level 80 or 85 before the Infestation rework came out. I can't remember. How he was pretty high. Like he was at like almost 200,000, and I had a 6 red. So it wasn't I bought a 7 red because of the Infestation rework. So why am I so obsessed with Swarm? Well, you know, one of it was because I actually really liked the rework. Believe it or not, he did have the best rework of all of the Infestation members. When he uses his ultimate, for example, he actually follows up with his special attack outside of war. Now, I don't know if that was a mistake or not, because a lot of the other characters don't do both of their attacks since the rework. A lot of it requires war defense, and a lot of it requires Spider-Man, a big-time Spider-Man, but this one doesn't. Whereas his special does. It does say on war defense if Spider-Man big-time is an ally, blah, 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 does the ultimate. But the ultimate actually goes into the ultimate AoE, and it does the special. I was able to use this to one-shot Nova in Node 10. And other characters, like Morgan Le Fay, and I think it was in Node 2 or something like that. But it was a very powerful attack. His damage stat is huge. Well, he's so close to like 1.337, if you know that number. But yeah, his damage stat is very high. I have no regrets on doing this. Now, I did, in terms of investment prior to the trial event, though, I probably did put in like gold from 85 to 95. And I did give him gear tier 16 and 17 since the infestation rework. But he was fairly high before that, so my total gold investment was a little bit low. Could I have put that gold into Knowhere? I probably could have. Would I have got a better score? Maybe, I don't know. But I think that the total amount of gold that I would have had to spend to, say, taking my other 4 Knowhere members to, I don't know, gear tier 14 at least, level 75, would have cost about 6 million per character. I forget how much gear tier 14 costs now. A lot of the gold does come between that 75 to 95 range, but I forget on hand, without looking at my sheets, how much it costs to go all the way up to gear 14. I think it's like the 6-7 million kind of mark, plus the gear, plus the gold and all that stuff. So I have Nova here, and I had him pretty early on. Like, as soon as Nova was unlocked, I took him up pretty high, and I was using him in hybrid variations for Crucible, and I was fine with this, because I'm going to be using him in Dark Dimension 6 anyways, for the Legendary section, which I'm going to do for all of my trial Legendary characters. And so this was an investment that I already had that I was okay with. Now I need to change this back to Striker, actually. I was using this for I did actually give him Raider for the purposes of my my Black Cat run, because I had too many Strikers, actually, it seemed. And I needed the crit damage from him. Surprisingly enough, I just needed to crit more, but yeah, anyways, doesn't matter. So I had Nova, Swarm, and Doc Ock. Now this is exactly where I had my Doc Ock previously. I took him into Dark Dimension 5. He was, I think, like a 4th or 5th kind of legendary choice back in the time for Dark Dimension 5 for, you could have done Doc Ock or Shuri, and this was before the Wakandan rework, so for War Dogs, and I wasn't very happy with Shuri at the time, and so I decided to go with Doc Ock. Also, I'm a bit of a fan of Sinister Six in general, so this was level 85, gear tier 16. These are my 3 main characters. I did have Electro, which was like gear tier 14, and then I had Green Goblin, who was gear tier 14, who I kind of mixed and matched. And that was pretty much what I used to get through this to clear D7. A lot of the heavy lifting came from Nova and Swarm. Believe it or not, I wouldn't have got as far as I did without Swarm being that high. So I wouldn't have even cleared D7 if my Swarm wasn't leveled up. Swarm actually did surprisingly a lot of damage. He carried quite well. It was him and Nova carrying the whole thing. Doc Ock, unfortunately, at this time, I hope that he gets a rework. Fingers crossed. I really hope that he gets a rework, that he's part of that villain tech team. The tech raid team, villain tech raid team that's going to be coming out in the near future, which I almost 90% am sure that it's probably going to be Norman Osborn as the legendary character for the 3rd trial. That's another thing to talk about. But yeah, I have 0 regrets, because I didn't actually invest very much to get D7 cleared. I already had a lot of this built. Now, for everyone else, though, you may have had to take your Knowhere characters to gear tier 14. That's probably the reasonable kind of place to, if you're going to stop there. Some people went too far, in my opinion. Some people took them to gear tier 16, 17, level 90 plus, and spent like, I don't know, 50, 60 million gold across the board on all of these characters, and now they just don't have the gold to level up anything else. They're broke. Now, I'm broke too, but I do have an 85 Photon, I have a 90 Black Cat, at 75 Miss Marvel Hardlight. Yeah, Ghost Rider's not started yet, but there's so many characters getting chucked at us week after week after week, that it's just like you have to draw the line somewhere. And I drew the line at the rest of the Knowhere team, because I just had to, right? You have to draw the line somewhere. So that's where it was for me. Now, in terms of my score, like I said, I want to talk about the ranking and where I'm expected to get. And let's go back to the leaderboard again. 16,400. That's where I am right now. And I have an alt account, which I'm going to show you about where the rankings currently sit at the moment as well, down towards the bottom. Now, actually, we're going to have to bring that up first before we talk about the rankings, probably. Now, is it important that you do a little bit more for these first-time events? It sure is. But I think that people, especially now, not compared to Nova, but because that they changed things to the top 100,000 unlocked the leaderboard. That is a huge difference over what it was for Nova at 400k. Believe it or not, the difference between 100 and 400k is over double the amount of the player base. And so that's what changes in terms of your access to the shards. And so I'm actually expecting to be, I could get top 10 to 13%. But I'll probably be either top 10 to 13 or 14 to 17. And that's going to still get me a 5-star. I don't know why did that not work? Anyways, I clicked on this. So I need 25 shards plus 130. I need 155 to get 5-star. So right here at 14 and 17, that would be 110 plus 100. So 210. Definitely going to get it. Honestly, I could probably still make it 18 to 21% is the cutoff for me to get 5-star. And I think that's more than going to happen here. And I want to bring up my alt account as well. And I did a 100K run a couple of days ago. And so this is still going to show it here that I did a D1 run. Fortunately, I got to 103,864, so I'm not right on the line at 100K because of the efficiency bonuses, things like that. But where is this account at? 172,441. Now, this is with 1 day left, and also I'm not right at the line at 100K. So we could, let's just say, for sake of argument, that right now it sits at 175K, maybe even as high as 180,000. We could surmise that maybe, you know, within the next day, some people get added on. I don't think there's going to be a significant amount of additions to the leaderboard, but because, I don't know, let's just be generous and say there could be 190,000 people, you know, by the time this finishes. And so that means that 1% is about 1,900. So let's go back to my account here. So if that's the case, and I'm currently at that, let's just say I get knocked back to 19,000. Who knows? Maybe it's 20,000. So I'm definitely within that 10% to 13% range, for sure. So I'm going to get 250 shards, 130 plus 120, 250 shards. That's going to leave me with, honestly, halfway to 6-star for the investment that I made with my sets of characters. And I am more than happy with that. I'm actually super happy and surprised in some ways, actually, that I was even this high for a D7 run. And so you don't necessarily need to invest in the team that they tell you to do. Now, if you don't have any other alternatives, then yeah, maybe you should do. But always focus on the most impactful characters first. And that's kind of my point with all of this, is that just because they tell you to build this team, and this is actually going to ring true with New Avengers. We don't know who that second team is yet, and that may in fact matter a little bit. But when it comes to building the New Avengers, you don't probably need to build them all that high because so many other people probably won't be doing it either. Right? And so only the highly competitive people. Now, if you're super competitive, because this is Black Cat's a legend, is an arena team, but I'm still getting a 5-star, and that's more than sufficient for me, because when the Dark Promotion red stars come out, it's going to cap out at 5 stars anyways. Right? So I'm going to be almost in the same position that a lot of other people are going to be without having to actually have had to build the rest of the Knowhere team and spend whatever 50 plus million gold on these characters. And I don't know why it's not here. Where is my... I wanted to bring up... I had... Oh, there we go. It's there, actually. It just wasn't showing. So, yeah, this... I had a little tab in one of my sheets called for special events dates. Anyways, so the first Nova event was in May the 19th. And then the second Nova event was August the 4th. This was 2.5 months. That's it. Which maybe for some people sounds like a long time. But it's not really. Which means that there's a good chance that Black Cat's second event is going to be out by early second week of November, something like that. There's a good chance that could happen. And honestly, I think that it's going to take people quite a while to actually get the gold and upgrade Secret Defenders. It might take like a month, honestly, or a little bit more for people to get all 4 of these characters upgraded to the max that they want to as an arena team. So I think that by the time the second Black Cat event comes around, we'll be ready for that too. And while you won't get as many shards because you won't get those first-time rewards necessarily, there's still a lot of shards in the milestone. There's 180 shards in the milestone up to that. And then there's, you know, up to a payout of whatever you end up getting, right? You know, wherever you end up landing for your payout for the ranking, there's still a lot here. If you're in, if you rank again in that sort of 10 to 20% range, you're still picking up an additional, you know, 100 to 130 shards plus the 180 potentially in the milestone. Like it almost doesn't matter, because after about 3 of these events, I would say active players will have a good chance of being 6+ star Black Cat after 3 events. And so I don't think there's a rush. And so there was this impetus that people felt that they had to level up their characters, that they had to max out their Knowhere team. And I think that was a bit of a bad thing that some creators were doing, trying to push. And it's fine if you want to be competitive in this. If you want to be, then you have to own that, right? That you're spending resources on characters that are largely for this event. What I did was try to use what I had without having to spend those kind of resources on characters that I did not want to build. Why? I actually don't like the Knowhere team. I think, at least in War, they seem to be pigeonholed to beat Infestation, which is really stupid. They do other things, but by and large, I didn't get the same feeling out of Knowhere like I did for the Gamma team, where I felt with Red Hulk and the Gamma team, I actually liked that team a lot better, and they performed a lot better outside of War as well. I think Knowhere is garbage in Cosmic Crucible. If you have them on defense, they get crushed by like Eternals, and it's absolutely ridiculous. And so it seemed like a giant waste to me, and I'm glad that I didn't invest in them. I'm glad that now I can put that gold into other things that I want to do. Yes, things that I want to do, not what Scopely tells me to do. And so I'm happy. And I wanted to share this with you all because I kind of wanted to let you know that you don't need to be controlled by what Scopely tells you to do. You can still perform well in events if you just do a reasonable amount of investment, right? And some people have shared that, a G14 Knowhere team was enough to get through at least G7 as well. So you don't need to hyper invest into some of these teams to be able to get, to be able to do decently in these events. And I think that there was this, I don't know, out there that you had to overinvest in these characters to do well. And that's just not the case. So don't think that you have to do everything you're told to do. And the best enjoyment out of this game, in my opinion, is doing the things that you actually want to do. And maybe I'm just trying to kind of share that with all of you so that we can get a better Marvel Strike Force experience for everyone. That's just me, though. Hey, maybe I'm crazy. I do say this in some of my videos, but I'm very happy with where things landed for me and this event. Let me know how you did for this event, and also how much investment did you do in the Knowhere team? Do you regret anything at all throughout this last week or so? I'd love to know more in the comments down below. That's the end of this event. That's the end of this video. And tomorrow morning, we will have the event video for the upcoming start of the September main events month as well. So look forward to that. And until next time, stay safe and healthy. And I'll see you all later. Boilon signing out.